Like, if you really look at it, if people have a judgment about you, such a small percentage of their time and their mind. So it's up to me whether I take that small percentage of their brain to heart, or if I just dismiss it and think, well, this is my whole life, this is what feels right to me, so that's way more important than someone's little tiny judgment of me. They can fuck off.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 265. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a lively and very lovely conversation with Eve.
Yeah, this is an amazing conversation. Eve is a wizard, a sorceress, if
Yes.
you will, at weaving in amazing learning opportunities and life lessons that she's picked up through basically being non-monogamous her entire adult life, but also a bunch of hilarious stories, anecdotes, and mishaps.
Yes.
I guess mishaps is a great way to put it sometimes.
Yeah, experiences.
Hilarious experiences. Some of the funniest bloopers we've heard on the show. And out of them all are incredible life lessons. So thank you, Eve, for your vulnerability and all of this.
Thank you so much. And as Eve will talk about, she hosts a cabaret show called The Secret Circus Show. Information can be found in the show notes, as well as, of course, Eve will talk about it and tell us a whole bunch more.
Yeah, also in the show notes are photos of Eve and links to all of Eve's other work and ways to reach out and find her and connect.
Yes, we did forget to mention, too, she's in the UK.
She is in the UK. That will be apparent with the accent. And also the other way that shows up is there was a little bit of lag, and we were able to correct most of it in editing, but there are a few times where maybe something seems a little bit delayed or out of place, and that's why.
Yes.
The other thing that's important for you to know is that we don't usually say this, it is critical to listen to the end. Because
you're just going to want to. Just trust us.
The stories that we hear at the end of this conversation are amazing.
Yes. So just trust us and listen all the way to the end.
We're not bait and switching you.
You'll thank us later.
You will thank us immediately.
Well, once they get to the end.
So let's not delay anymore.
In like an hour when they finish it.
No more delaying. We'll get them straight to the end. Anybody who is a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right in right now to all of the amazingness that is Eve. And for the rest of you, we have a couple of very quick announcements.
First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip all of the announcements up here at the front. To sign up, you can go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the buttons on the homepage or in your podcast player.
But don't worry, you won't miss the important dates for upcoming events. We stick those in the outro still, so definitely you're going to want to go sign up.
Yes, very good point.
Although we are pretty amazing up here in the intro.
Oh yeah, that's true, but sign up anyway.
Which you're about to find out. Next up is something really exciting that actually just came onto our radar like a few days ago, and it's happening right now. Literally, if you're listening to this on the day it came out, Wednesday, December 7th, this is happening.
Yes.
We are part of a live virtual summit hosted by Elizabeth Cunningham, who was on our episode 263 a couple weeks ago. She's a relationship coach and an all-around badass, and she gathered up a whole bunch of amazing speakers for a free summit that is going on all day today. Don't worry if you miss it today. You can still sign up, and you will be able to get the downloads. I think it's $47, which is pretty affordable considering I'm just going to rattle off some of the names of the amazing speakers that are going to be part of this, besides us, of course. We've got Kate Kincaid, Lucky Alexander, Jolie Hamilton, Nicoletta Heidegger, Jessica Fern, and a whole bunch of other amazing people all day long. You're going to want to check this out. We're super excited. And
the name of the summit is called From Monogamy to Polyamory.
And it's going to be about, probably going from monogamy to polyamory. And it's way more than just that little transition. As many of you know, if you've done this or if you're thinking about doing this, there's a lot to that.
To opening a relationship?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'd love to have you join us. Again, it's a free summit and we're super excited. So thank you to Elizabeth for putting this on, and we're super excited. I think I mentioned that we're excited.
We are excited. Yes, you did mention that. Okay. And just a quick reminder too, if you happen to miss this, you're like, oh darn, it's after December 7th. Don't worry. You can go to our website, still click on the links, and you can purchase a package to view all of the recordings.
Yes, which is a great point. I never told anybody how to find it. Go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, or in your podcast player show notes. You can click right there into the show notes and you'll see links.
Yes.
The other thing we wanted to say up front here was a huge thank you to everybody who joined us last week for our virtual meet and greet. We had close to 40 people. We were all dressed up in our beach attire. We had people in hammocks. We had people in floppy hats and swimsuits.
Sunglasses.
It was amazing, and we had a blast. The next one is coming up on December 29th. We haven't picked a theme, but right now we're picking the theme, holiday stuff.
That's vague.
Right, because you choose your holiday. It could be any holiday.
That's true.
Any holiday of the year.
Okay.
Wear your attire.
Yeah.
You can mix and match holidays. You could wear fireworks and a Santa hat and a pumpkin.
Okay. Nailed it.
So holiday stuff.
Maybe like how many holidays can you put on in your outfit?
Holiday potpourri for 600, Alex.
Perfect.
All right.
On that note, if you're out there looking for like-minded people, we'd highly encourage you to check out our online community. We have over 200 people and growing. It's an amazing place, if we do say so ourselves, to meet like-minded people. And it's only a couple bucks per month to join. Go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and click on the community tab.
Which is right next to the events tab, which is where you'll learn about that meet and greet.
Yes.
And just a quick clarification. The virtual meet and greet is not the same as the community. The community is not the same as a virtual meet and greet.
They're two separate things.
You don't need to be part of our online community to join the meet and greet, but you do need to be part of the community to be part of the community.
Correct. Nailed it.
So we would love to have you join us. As Emma said, again, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You click on the community tab and you'll learn everything you need to know.
Yes.
The other thing you can do while you're on our website, click on that resources tab.
And find a whole bunch of resources.
And find a whole bunch of them, one of which is our favorite way to get tested for STIs, stdcheck.com. It is fast. It is easy. Again, it's our favorite way to get tested.
It's fast and easy.
It's fast and easy. It's also simple and affordable at $129 when you use the links on our website. You save $10 and you support the show financially.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that $129 gets you a full 10-panel test, which is a pretty great deal.
Yes.
That's $12.90 per test.
And it's very discreet, which is awesome.
It is. So check it out. We would say a huge thank you in advance for that. It's a great thing to get for your partner for the holidays upcoming.
Oh, that's true. That's a good gift.
Or all of your partners. You get the poly package. You just get the whole thing.
True. Go for it.
No group discounts. Sorry.
Anyway,
there is one more thing. You can reach out to us.
Send us a voicemail, send us an email, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, click on the Contact Us button. We would love to hear from you. We respond to everything we get. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
And if you click on that podcast tab while you're on our website,
all the show notes.
And there are some amazing photos of Eve.
Yes.
If you listen to this and you're like, what is this? This person seems incredible. Yeah.
She is.
You ain't wrong. Check it out.
Okay, with that,
I think we're done talking.
Let's go talk to Eve.
Welcome to the podcast, Eve. We are so grateful you are getting up at the crack of, I don't even think it's bright where you're at. And the sun has long gone down on our end. It's 10 o'clock here. So thank you for getting up. And thank you for keeping us up. We're excited to chat. We've been laughing the last few minutes, and I'm excited for what's to come. So welcome.
Thank you. It's worth getting up in the crack of anything for you two.
Aww.
Well, you don't know that yet. You haven't gone through this process.
We'd love for you to start just by introducing yourself at whatever level you're comfortable with.
Hi, I'm Eve. I live in Liverpool, in England. I'm a woman that does a lot. And that means work-wise and people-wise. And and yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with me today. you are.
We look forward to it. Well,
I can't wait.
We can't wait. Yeah. So we're going to get into all of the things and probably the people you do. But that sort of implies that perhaps non-monogamy is a threat in your life of some kind. Do you mind just starting off with like a high level of what relationships sort of look like for you today? And then we're going to go way back in time and figure out how you got here.
Yeah, so today, like the last year, I've had an amazing time. When I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, I just went on a mad sexual bender and just realised how incestuous Liverpool was, because it just turns out that, like, everyone I was sleeping with each other, and, like, all of my friends are just, like, just, like, so open, so it's just got to a point where I'm just like, I'd love to fit you in my diary, but I just don't have any time till like next year, so could you wait?
So your little black book, your sex book is booked up solid through the end of the year.
Yeah, and then some.
Well, thanks for finding. No wonder we had to talk to you at 6 a.m.
I know, yeah, you're lucky.
Wow. Thanks for making time for us.
Well, you're
welcome. Well, maybe take us back in time then. How did the idea, the concept of non-monogamy come into your life?
So I have this really vague memory of being young and like never having experienced any relationships and just being like, I could see myself in an open relationship one time. And then when I got my first boyfriend, it happened in a weird way where we were seeing each other for a few weeks and he'd referred to me as his girlfriend. And then, like, a few weeks after that, he was like, I think we should just be dating. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why are we going back? Like, that seems like a back step. And then after a week or so of feeling really awkward about it, he was like, I think what I wanted to say was, I really want to be in an open relationship with you. And I was like, oh, thank God, like, at least that's a relationship. So yeah, so we, like, embarked on this, and a few weeks after that, he'd said to me, like, oh, I need you to know that I nearly slept with someone, but I didn't. And I was like, okay, well, I have phone sex with someone. And he was like, wait a minute, I didn't think about you doing stuff with other people. And I was like, cheeky bastard. And then throughout our relationship, I ended up doubling the amount of people I'd slept with, and he didn't sleep with anyone apart from when he was with me, so that backfired.
How old were you two when this relationship kind of started and then opened?
So I would have been 21. He's like 5 years older than me, so should have known better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, early 20s, it was good to get the context. I wasn't sure if it was like 16, 17.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I waited quite a while till I felt like I've met the right person, which I'm really thankful for now. So I think when I was at school, I was surrounded by friends who jumped into stuff really early. And I remember looking at them and being like, what are you doing? Why are you with him? Like, you know, it's a bit weird, it's a bit pervy, he's taking advantage of you, he's not right for you. And I think, like, I'm so relieved that I waited so long because I felt like I knew myself a lot better. And even when I jumped into relationships in my 20s, like, it was 8 years of kind of back-to-back relationships, and now I feel like I've got this freedom to get to know myself better. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do, like, relationships back-to-back when I was younger, or I don't know how well I'd know myself, and I find that so important to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And through those back-to-back relationships, were those open relationships. Did you continue that trend, or did you go into like sort of a serial monogamy type vibe?
So the 8 years kind of, there was a short relationship at the start, and then the one I've just told you about, and then after that, I was kind of in a bit of a monogamish relationship with someone I'd known for a few years. So we'd only really sleep with people together, or we had a kind of rule where I could sleep with women and he could sleep with men if we weren't together. And then I broke up with him, and we kind of ended up in a bit of an awkward, we're still doing everything the same, but there's now been a change. So we were kind of open, but boundaries weren't really talked about enough. Whenever I brought it up, it was kind of a bit like, I don't know, let's talk about this another time. So near the end of our relationship, we were both sleeping with other people in probably quite a hurtful way to the other person. And so when it ended, it left me in a really kind of dark place, but also one where I got to know myself a lot better. So yeah, that was interesting.
Was that the relationship that just ended last year, or was this earlier on?
Yeah, that was last year.
Okay.
Yeah. And are you open to talking a little bit about how the end of that relationship and the way it ended sort of led into you like learning a lot more about yourself? And you that's sort of a theme like that happened in your early 20s as well. Like you said you learned a lot more about yourself before you jumped in, and it sounds like you had sort of bookended this chapter of relationships with also really learning about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I think I really lost a lot of confidence near the end of my relationship, and I started seeing a therapist, like a sex and relationships therapist. And nearer the end of my relationship, my ex had said to me, like, "Oh, I don't think you should tell people that you're open or non-monogamous, because you get jealous." And my therapist as well kind of has said, like, maybe it's not right for you if you're experiencing this. And it didn't really sit right with me, so I ended the therapy after a little while because I was like, just doesn't feel right to me that other people are telling me how my relationship style should be. Like, instead I wanted tools on how to, like, work on the parts of me that were coming up. So yeah, I spent a bit of time being like, maybe I am monogamous, maybe they're right. And then I went on a Tinder date, like, a couple of months after I'd broken up with my ex, and it was really odd because we'd really got on well, we chatted loads, it really flowed. I went to his and we ended up, like, in bed together. He tied me up and then, like, had sex with me. And then he went off to get some water and he came back and he was like, "I think we should wait to have sex." And I was like, "Well, we just have." And then he was like, "The thing is, like, I'm 100% monogamous and I want the next person I end up with to be my last," and all of this. And I was just like, and I was like, if I've had such a strong reaction to that, I'm pretty sure I'm not monogamous.
Right? Yeah, in that experience, like, you have this visceral reaction of this person sharing with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Yeah. Can you untie me now? I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's like my blood's still on your face. Like, I'm pretty sure we've just had sex.
And so that was sort of your welcome to single life. First kind of move was like a discovery that maybe
for the first time in many years.
Yeah. For the first, not that she'd never been single, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so where did the journey take you from there? I know you said you went on a bit of a bender.
Yeah. So yeah, I ended up, I had a few months of being really just upset and lying in bed and feeling really depressed about everything and highly anxious. And then I I ended up having a threesome with a guy that I'd sworn that I wouldn't sleep with him. I was like, "You're a fuckboy. I'm never gonna sleep with him." Like, people warned me against him. And then he was like, "Do you want to come home with me and this girl?" And I was like, "Yep." And that, I think in my head, I was like, I'm making a decision. I'm going to sleep with you. We're never going to end up in a relationship, so it's kind of safe. And I really fancy the girl you're with, so no brainer. And after that, I just started, it opened me up to meeting all these new people who were just so comfortable in themselves, and like knowing that I was sleeping with other people. A lot of them I'm still like really close with now. Some of them I'm still seeing. And yeah, and a lot of people from my past, while I've been like in these relationships that I'd always been like, "Oh, I like you, but I don't know if you like me," suddenly were coming to the forefront. And yeah, it was really nice just being surrounded by people that I already kind of knew. So I felt comfortable enough, and no pressure from.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious too, and thank you for sharing that. I'm curious too. You mentioned early on, and when you first opened that relationship back in your 20s, that you two had an agreement where he could sleep with other guys and you could sleep with other women.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went home with this couple. Well, I don't know if they were a couple. You went home with two people. Was like, what has the exploration of your sexuality looked like? It sounds like that was a fairly early discovery for you.
Yeah, I've always known like I was bisexual, and I've been curious about sex for like forever. And I remember like even before I really knew what sex was, I just would like lie awake at night thinking about it, fantasizing, and like yeah, anything I could find to read, or we didn't really have internet when I was a child, but like just yeah, I was just so curious, and then I was asking all my friends from school like questions. Like I had a lot of male friends, so anything I didn't know, I'd be like, "So tell me about this. Tell me about wet dreams. Tell me about yeah, anything." And curious little pervert. But yeah, I think I always had just a way of thinking where I was like curious and wanted to know more, and that's never really changed.
Yeah.
Was this last year your first experience with a woman?
No. So like my first, I had a like short-term relationship that was with a woman, and we were both each other's firsts, but I didn't really know what I was doing at all. And we joke now because we're like, we should sleep together again because we've both learned quite a lot since then. But yeah, a lot of trying to scissor and not really know what to do.
I can imagine the awkwardness, like, but yeah, it's your first time for both of you,
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, it is what it is.
Like, how are you supposed to know?
Well, it's not exactly taught, right? Especially, back then, like they're barely teaching it now. So yeah, it's not like they teach you how to have good sex. They're trying to tell you not to ever have it. So yeah.
Yeah, I barely knew what to do to myself, to be fair. For quite a while. So.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, taking us back to like your first experiences in an open relationship, to that first boyfriend, you said you learned a lot. But thinking back, what were some of the ways that you kind of like, I don't know, what were some of the ways you saw yourself grow throughout those early relationships?
I think for me, because, a lot of people get into long-term relationships and then they feel like, oh, I've missed out on trying this, or, I've spent all this time with one person, and especially if it ends badly, you're a bit like, oh, I could have spent that time exploring myself and exploring others. But I had that safety net of knowing that there was someone there who I could come back to. but also the freedom to go off and explore. And I felt like, when you're single, you sometimes get into a state where you kind of, I don't want to say desperate, but maybe a bit desperate, where you're just like, oh, I need to sleep with people, and people can kind of sense that. But when you're kind of feeling comfortable and happy, it's easier to find, especially the right kinds of people. So I ended up being able to go out, meet people, have a great time, and then if it was great, I could come home and tell him. If it was terrible, I had a support behind me. And also, we explored a lot together. So, we ended up having a threesome with his ex-girlfriend, which is really beautiful. And we had, a foursome with my best friends, who I'd always said to him, you're not allowed to sleep with them. They're off limits. And then we were all having a foursome, and I was, doing stuff with our friends. And they just both looked at me, and I was like, sort him out.
I love it. You seem to have no.
I'm occupied.
No shortage of adventures.
That's
in your
definitely
years.
true.
I love it.
And that was going to be my next question, you about whether everything was separate but it sounds like it wasn't. A lot of things were together too. So you kind of got both experiences in that first relationship, and were able to kind of, in some ways, just beautifully navigate different types of experiences for both of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've never met anyone as adventurous as him. He's just so open-minded, and we tried stuff that most people wouldn't ever think to try, and there was never any proper taboos with us. We were just if it turns you on, it turns you on. Let's try this, let's try that, and to have that as my first relationship with someone like that, I'm really lucky. He literally changed my life, and especially sex-wise as well. Up until that point, I'd just been having really shit one-night stands, where it's kind of now I'll do this to you, and then you do this to me, and then we'll have sex until you get off me and I can go to sleep. And he was the first person I met where I was like, oh my god, we're trying different things, we're trying different positions, my foot's in your mouth, now we're doing this, and we both said we thought it was going to be a one-night stand. We didn't know each other's names for ages. I had him in my phone as ? And then it just turns out he's been the most. And he said he didn't know my name for a month, and I was like, what? At least it went both ways.
I love it. How have you taken maybe some of that adventurous spirit, and I mean, it sounds like he had it, but you also had it. You also had it in you as well. And how have you taken that forward? And maybe how has that played out, after you had this threesome with the fuckboy that you vowed never to have sex with, but you did?
Well, just to clarify, this is all the first relationship you were in, correct?
Yeah. I'm jumping way ahead, curious how you've taken that sense of adventure into the year of debauchery that you've been sort of living in right now.
So with my second relationship, he was also pretty open-minded, and that's when I started going to sex parties, and we had a lot of group experiences as well. We joined some apps, met some people who I've turned out to be amazing friends with even now. But so I think after my first relationship, I would have struggled to go into anything resembling, I don't know, vanilla. And I think as soon as I kind of started sleeping with people again this time, it was a whole different thing, because I was I've got complete freedom. I don't have to ask permission or go home and tell someone about what I'm doing. And I met all these people that were curious about sex clubs, so I've started going kind of once a month or more regularly. And yeah, that's a great way to just explore what you're into. And yeah, I've met loads of couples, so I'm seeing quite a few couples, and yeah, I think it's just curiosity and ticking things off the bucket list. I don't think I'll ever grow out of that.
Well, and you have to keep expanding the bucket list. I mean, geez, it sounds like you're just checking items off by the day.
Yeah. I mean, I did write a bucket list when I was in my early teens, and like a few years later, I'd done 100 things off it already. So it's never a dull life.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's crazy. How many items were on it if you checked 100 off?
Like 300 and something.
Wow. Wow, I love it. I love it.
So how close are you to checking them all off now? I'm curious.
Well, some of them have definitely like become impossible since I wrote it. Like, I can't high five the Queen anymore because she's dead. But most of the like ones about sex and nudity, I think I've done now. So I'm definitely open to ideas for the bucket list.
Wow. I love it. Yeah, the Queen one's going to be tough to check off.
Yep.
Maybe you can change it to a queen.
Yeah.
And then it could be a drag queen. It could be anything.
Well, I've definitely done that already.
Way to be creative.
Check it off. Nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I would also love to dig in too a little bit, Eve, to... I think it's easy to hear, like, you know, you spent the last year or so on a bender, right? But I imagine there's a lot of learning and growth and self-discovery through that process as well. Like, are you open to like maybe sharing a little bit about what this actually has looked like? Is it, you know, because people hear bender and they're like, I don't know, maybe she's out like 6 nights a week or, you know, sometimes twice. Like what does it like actually look like? And what have you been taking away from it? Because if you're still doing it, you're obviously getting something out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's usually 7 nights a week I'm out, actually. But no, I think it's interesting because my ex.
I didn't want to guess high. And...
So my first ex, you know, the one that I was in an open relationship with. So like the last year and a half, he's like, so how many people are you dating? And I'm like, it depends what you mean by dating, because there's like a couple of people I'm seeing regularly. There's one in particular that, like, over the last year we've become really close, and like I see her the most. And then there's other people I see less regularly, but we've got a stronger connection than some of the people I'm sleeping with regularly. And then I don't know, it's all these different tiers. And then there's some people that, just kind of hooked up once and then became best mates, and that's accepted, or, you know. So yeah, it's just not necessarily just me like going out and sleeping with whoever I can find. It's a lot of like deeper connections, and I've really tried to set the bar high for myself in the last year and a half, and it just happens that a lot of people meet in that bar.
Just happens. Oh my god, I love it. That's well, and I mean, good for you though, right? Like it, and you know what? Let's be honest. Like, even if you set the bar low because that's what you wanted and that's what you needed, like, there's nothing wrong with that either. Yeah, good for you there as well. But I love that you're like, well, I set the bar high, and then I just go out and find, you know, quality humans to meet my needs, and good for you. I've just got to, like, where the hell are you meeting all these people that are like such high quality? Good question. Like, geez, friends of friends. You're loading them up 7 nights a week. Like, you got to have a pretty sweet like funnel.
I think a lot of them I already knew, or it's like the friendship group I'm in now. We all just seem to like sleep with each other, or like, and then we'll meet someone else that someone else knows, and like, but yeah, I think a lot of them, the ones that I'm still seeing, are literally people that have been on my radar for a long time, and I guess it's because I've been in the relationship or they have, but I've always had an interest. So then when it's finally come through, I'm like, oh my god, it's happening. Yeah, that's really cool. And then a lot of it's kind of, through apps or through sex clubs or whatever, meeting new people. But I literally get to the point where I'm like, I need to stop going on the apps. What am I doing? I'm already like fully booked. But it's just kind of that satisfaction of like flicking through and get people telling me I'm fit.
Yeah, so it's a combination of friends, meeting people through your friends group, the apps and meeting people on the apps, and then going to sex clubs, you said too. So it's like a little bit of like you try all of the angles.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
Way.
Yeah. Throughout all of your experiences, what are some ways that you keep yourself physically and sexually safe?
Yeah. So, like, we're really lucky in England that we get kind of free STI checks. And, like, especially since COVID, you just get them ordered to now, which is well handy because I'm so busy all the time. Like, the thought of going and sitting in a waiting room, I'm like, got so much else that I need to do. So, yeah, literally, it just arrives on my doorstep every 3 months. I do it, send it off, get a result, and I'm like, woohoo! And then I think safety-wise, in other ways, like, it's something I've really been working on, especially now I'm seeing a lot of people as a single woman. I really struggle with, like, not getting overwhelmed boundary-wise. And especially over the last year, I felt a lot of people have felt kind of entitled to my time, or an article's been published about me recently about being sex positive, and I've noticed that people kind of see that and then assume, oh, Eve, can I have a date from you? Can I have this from you? Like, and there's no question about it. It's just kind of like, oh well, she'll say yes to it because she's like a sexually free woman and she's single. So it's really, I'm really like working on setting boundaries and not just sleeping with people because it'd be easier than like having to have awkward conversations. But yeah, I think that's the main thing I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's so important to be able to protect not even yourself physically, but your time, your emotional health. Like,
for sure.
You only got 7 nights a week, and you've got them full. So, right? I mean, yeah. I love it.
And it's so easy to get carried away.
Sure.
And like, saying, oh, well, I can do that. And then you sit down and you realize, I'm overextended. I can't do all of this. What am I going to do here?
Well, it's a good thing we don't do that.
Sure.
Yeah, speaking from experience. Yeah.
I love it. I'm curious too, Eve, do you like, I could see there being some stigma, right? Like, oh, that's Eve. Like you've had articles written about you that you're sex positive, and it'd be easy to read that another way, like, oh, Eve's a slut, and not that that's a bad thing, but like you kind of have to own some of that in who you are, and how do you do that in terms of like maybe friends who aren't part of this group, or family, or people who are looking in and maybe throwing some judgment your way?
Which kind of leads to a question of like, how open in your life too are you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a t-shirt that says slut on it, so I reclaim the word slut personally.
Perfect.
It's interesting because I'm so vocal, especially with people I know. I'm just will say exactly how it is. But also, like, more and more I've become like more open online. So I feel like with my family, my dad is very much like me, and my brother is, but my mum's, she's a bit like, I don't want to hear it, and I think because I've just started sharing it, people just have to catch up. I'm like, well, I'm putting it out, I'm being honest. It's on you if you find it weird. But yeah, I think, like, not necessarily with my friends, but with like more acquaintances, like you do get like questioned and judged, and like but you just can't win. Like when I was in a relationship where we were seeing other people, it was like all these questions and judgments. But then now my ex is with someone else in a monogamous relationship. He's saying to me like I'm still getting the same like judgment and questions, and like, oh, why aren't you swinging? Like surely you can't be happy because you've gone from an open to like you just can't win. And you look at their relationships, and I'm like, well, I don't really want that, so I'm not really going to take it to heart if you find what I'm doing weird, because I'm having a great time.
I love it. I mean, yeah, that's a great point. Like,
Yeah.
you can't win. No matter what you do, someone's going to be judging you. And you might as well just do what, like, obviously show up with integrity and respect and kindness. And apart from that, like, who the fuck cares what you do and how you do it or who you do, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's gonna take up such a small percentage of their mind. Like, if you really look at it, if people have a judgment about you, such a small percentage of their time and their mind. So it's up to me whether I take that small percentage of their brain to heart, or if I just dismiss it and think, well, this is my whole life. This is what feels right to me. So that's way more important than someone's little tiny judgment of me. They can fuck off.
I love it. It's such a good point.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
You've got to live this life all day, every day for, another 80 years, maybe. Like, you're going to let somebody who pass judgment. Yeah, I love it. That's a great.
Well, it's not always easy to do. So it's awesome that you're there and that you're able to do that. Moving forward, what do you see your relationships? What do you want moving forward in your life as far as relationships go?
Like right now, I'm the thought of committing seriously like freaks me out a bit, and I think that's just where I am right now. I think I'm still kind of getting over my last relationship and what came up for me. So I wouldn't feel comfortable entering into anything with someone else until I've kind of resolved a lot of that. But so I always saw myself like settling down, having kids, getting married. But the longer it goes on, the more I see that still happening, but not in a kind of conventional way. Because, like, I really want to have kids, but if I'm not with a partner, I don't want that to stop me. And some of my friends that I'm sleeping with, like, are like, well, I'll just give you some of my sperm. And then, like, my best mate and I have talked about having a marriage because we love each other so much, and it's like I want a wedding more than I want a marriage. So why shouldn't we, get married to people we love, even if we're not together? So yeah, in the future, like, I feel like I'd struggle to be in a fully monogamous relationship ever because I've seen the light. But yeah, what it looks like next. I'm not sure. I find that really exciting that I don't just, have a monogamous mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna meet someone, we're gonna do this and get really close and then break up and then never see each other again. Like, I've never had that, so I never expect that. So it makes it really exciting to be like, I don't know which direction I'm going to go in and how, like, monogamous or non-monogamous I'm going to be, but I'm just going to go with what feels right. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I was curious too, you'd mentioned when you got out of the last relationship, both your boyfriend and your therapist were telling you that it sounded like that you were too jealous to do non-monogamy. And I'm curious, like, how did that show up to that point? And what have you done with it since? Like, how has it shown up since?
So I think Because my first relationship, like, he didn't really do anything with other people, I was in a really, like, cushy spot, which is a blessing and a curse, I think, because when I got to my second relationship, especially because we weren't that strong as a couple by that point, so when I found out he'd slept with someone else, it was pretty shit circumstances, because I literally walked in to his flat to pick up some stuff, and he had someone there, and then that was like my first experience of like a partner doing stuff with someone else, and he wouldn't speak to me about it afterwards, so I was just left all night kind of being like, who is she, like, are they still together now, and all of this went off in my brain, like, so yeah, I think the times that it did happen, it just sent me into a bit of a spiral. I didn't really know how to deal with it. And then after I was seeing someone who's now my best friend, and this is complicated to explain. So the person I'm seeing now the most, and my best friend who I was seeing, but I'm not anymore, I found out that they'd slept together, and it just really upset me, and I was really upset. I felt betrayed, I felt hurt, and then I kind of told my brother and my ex about it, and they were like, well, that's really interesting, because do you want to be with him? And I was like, well, no, like, so I don't understand why I'm feeling this strongly about someone when there isn't a relationship on the line. And my brother said to me, like, oh, I actually follow these people called Connor and Brittany. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
I don't
Nope.
think so.
Okay, so he was like, they're like my gurus on non-monogamy, and whenever I like don't really know, whenever I need a resource, they're the people I go to. And he was like, they've got a course on jealousy, and they've got a few others like about being in open relationships, maintaining healthy relationships. And so we went halves on paying for the course package. And me and my ex-boyfriend like worked our way through the jealousy one together, and I bought some books about jealousy, and I still feel it now, but it's always been something I've had in my life, not just relating to relationships, but friendships, or if someone who does a similar job to me get an opportunity, I'm like, ah. So I think, yeah, it's like unpicking it and finding out where that comes from. So that's just been the journey I've been on for like about a year now. And yeah, it's a lot of learning. But I feel like I'm in a great place to do it now, rather than when I'm in a relationship and trying to do it then.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, jealousy is a normal emotion that is normal to have. And
Yeah.
so it's just how you handle it and how you work through it and how you find support for yourself and with other people in that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for speaking to that. And if you don't mind too, if we can throw the links to the resources that you just mentioned in the show
Yeah.
notes too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have another question, if you don't mind. I mean, I guess you're on a podcast about questions, so hopefully you don't mind too much.
Well, go on, then.
You've talked, yeah. You've talked a lot about your exes, and it seems like you've been able to maintain relationships or friendships with most or all of them. And I'm curious, how do you do that? Because that's something that I think is wildly undervalued. The ability to end a relationship but maintain, not to burn it to the ground.
Yeah, I think I've never been of the understanding that you're kind of with someone and then you break up and then you just never see them again, like, unless that feels like it's needed. And I think it's the same with relationships. I've never had it in my head of what I think a relationship should be, and that's the same with a breakup. And I feel like, I've spent 3.5 years with someone, and then to go from that and then just never see them again, like, just seems really, like, I think I'd deal with breakup a lot worse if I knew that was the case, but in both my main relationships, even during it, I knew, like, well, we'll be friends afterwards. Like, whatever happens, we'll be friends. And it may have taken a couple of years after each one to kind of get to a point where we feel, like, comfortable together or whatever, but it would hurt me a lot more if we weren't friends afterwards. And actually, like, they're some of the closest people to me, and I feel like I can be completely honest with them, and they understand me in a way that my normal friends don't, or, you know. So I think, yeah, I really value us having that complete honesty, complete trust, and being able to go to them with anything. But yeah, like that's the main thing people get confused about now, I think, is like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my ex's family, and people are like, what? Is your ex gonna be there? And I'm like, no, but like, oh yeah, sometimes he will be there, but people find that really weird that I maintain such a strong connection. But for me, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, if it works, I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's so undervalued.
Yeah.
To be able, and it's such an impressive skill, like, to be able to do that. So good on you. Yeah.
I have a question, but I'm completely changing the subject. Do you have anything else on that before I change the subject?
Nope. I have another off-subject question, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. But go for it.
So in one of your emails, Eve, you sent us, you mentioned a couple of fun jobs that you've had in the past, and you threw in there that you did a naked cleaning service once, but never again. And I'm so curious and would love this story.
Well, it was the exact question I was going to ask, so well done.
Yes.
But I think it would be great if you could give a recap of your career through sex. Let's call it sex work adjacent.
Okay. So like, my main job is life modelling, which isn't really sex work related, but it kind of led me onto a path of other related things. So I worked as a lap dancer in a strip club for 6 months, and then I've done a bit of cam girl work. I'm also a normal cleaner, so naked cleaner, I was like, oh my god, it's like my dream job, it's like my jobs combined. No, apparently not. And then I've just been offered some work at my local sex club as a buddy, so like welcoming people, giving them tours, making sure everyone's comfortable, which I already do, really.
So now you just get to get paid for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I also run a cabaret show, so we did our first one at the sex club a couple of months ago. So for me, it's like combining all of my skill set. Oh, and I've worked as like a dominatrix tutor and a hand job workshop tutor for for women, which is quite niche, I think.
It is.
The title hand job tutor workshop, hand job workshop tutor. I love it. Okay, so some follow-up questions on all these jobs.
Yeah.
What are your favorite ones, and why? Mm-hmm. And why will you never do naked cleaning again?
Yes, I want to know that too.
We'll go for that one first then. So basically, I've been booked for an agency, and to start off with, I went to the wrong house. So it started off going as badly. Luckily, I found out in time. So I went in, and it was like older man, and he was like, oh hi, he made me a coffee, and then he was like, right, go and get ready, and I was like, no, you've got to pay me first. It's like, oh, okay, how much is it? And I was like, oh, you know how much it is, just pay me. So I went upstairs, got undressed, came down, And then he stood up and started getting undressed, and I was like, oh my god, I'd never comprehended that he might get naked as well. And whenever I pictured it being in like kind of a big house where I'd just be like getting on with it, he'd be sat on the sofa, but it was such a tiny house that like every room we were in, we were so close. So I was like, what do you want me to do? And he was like, oh, I didn't really hire you for cleaning. And I was like, ha ha ha, so what do you want me to clean? And he was like, oh, if you could just dust these pictures. And he gave me the oldest feather duster I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, dusting photos of his grandkids, and the duster was just falling apart. So I just ended up making more mess than actually cleaning. And then I broke his Hoover. And then we went upstairs, and like he just got a massive erection, and it just got worse and worse. And like he was like, that's all I wanted you to clean. And I was like, all right. He was like, do you want some dinner? I was like, no. He was like, do you want another coffee? I was like, no. And then he was like, let's just talk then. And we'd chat away, and then there'd just be so many awkward silences where we'd just be sat there naked. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. So we ended up finishing the session early, and then he tipped me with a bottle of wine, and I left the house, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not wearing my underwear. I was like, shit, like, what if his wife finds it? What if, like, he finds it and think I've left it there for him to sniff? I was like, should I go back? Should I run? Should I? And then I found it in the leg of my trousers, and I was like, oh, thank fuck. And I pulled it out, and these like two guys were watching me pull my knickers out of my trousers, and I just started running.
That is tough to beat.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can see why you said never again.
But the story you get to tell everybody.
The story's amazing.
Like, his wife phoned at one point as well. That was not cool.
Oh, jeez, Eve. Okay.
And he didn't actually do any cleaning. Other than some
she
dusting.
made a mess.
Well, you said you're actually really good at cleaning.
I love it. Well, so then what's been your favorite of your sex work adjacent jobs?
So, I mean, life modeling's obviously my main one. And, like, combining that with kind of... So I'm doing, like, a Shibari-themed life drawing session on Thursday. And, like, I think, I love the being able to combine my jobs as well. I think working in the strip club was really interesting. And it taught me a lot about, just about the industry, but also, like, meeting people who were kind of typically gorgeous women, but just seeing how kind of insecure they were behind that, and then realising, like, how privileged I am to not feel, that I'm really confident in myself, and not because I think I'm, like, the most stunning woman in the world, but just because I've got a lot of self-confidence. And I think when I first went to work there, they were a bit like, who's this, like, nerdy student that's reading in the corner, who, like, doesn't quite know how to do her hair properly. And by the end, like, they just completely got who I was, and I was making them laugh, and we were playing, like, The Floor's Made of Lava on the booths and doing, like, handstand competitions. And I think, we'd, like, learned a lot from each other. And I think, like, although the work was sometimes quite soul-destroying, like, the friendships I've made in that time, like, we did become a little stripper family. So I love looking back on that and all the mad times we had.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'd also love to hear more about the work that you're currently doing, the shows that you're putting on.
Yeah. So I run an event called The Secret Circus, which has been going for like 8 years now. And I founded it with my friend Chanel, who had to move back to LA. And so now they run them in LA and I run them here. So there's a US branch and a UK branch. And they're basically like weird, wonderful cabaret shows. We have like different themes for each one. So I've just done one in a church, and then a month later did one in a sex club, and then we're just exploring, trying all these new things. We've had someone pull an alien out their bum hole. We've had someone with a courgette strap on. We've seen it all. So yeah, if you like fun, you should come along.
Eve, I am so glad you emailed us.
Me too.
Yes.
I have this vision that you will be living life to its fullest for as long as you possibly can, and I'm thrilled that our paths crossed.
Yeah, me too.
Woo! And links, if people want to check out the cabaret shows too, links will be in the show notes. So please go if you live in the UK or visit the UK or in LA.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not, you should fucking go visit for this reason. Like, come on.
Right?
Yeah, come and say hi. Come and ask for my autograph, because people don't do that enough, you know.
and tell her Finn and Emma sent you, and you get to play The Floor is Lava with the strippers, which is one of my bucket list items. So what I want to do, I want to now. It got onto my bucket list about 3 minutes ago, and so my dream is to come to the UK, have you introduce me to all of your stripper fam, and we're gonna go play The Floor is Lava. That's what I want to do for my birthday.
For you, anything.
Excellent.
Look at that.
That is the answer I was looking for. Wonderful. Well,
you're now going to have multiple people orchestrating this for you.
Perfect. Could not be happier. Thank you, Eve, for everything. Is there anything we haven't asked about or talked about that you wanted to share out into the world? Again, links to all of your work and how people can find you will be in the show notes, along with the amazing photos you sent us. And is there anything else you want to get out into the world before the sun comes up?
I've got a mad story from when I last went to a sex club, I met one of the couples I'm seeing, and they said to me, like, you know that we're having a baby? I was like, yeah. They were like, well, we worked out the date, and it was conceived the night we had a threesome with you. And so I've like co-created a child, I like to think. And I remember what I like to think is the moment it happened. He was having sex with her, and she was fucking me with a half penis, half dinosaur dildo. And then we all came at the same time, and I like to hope that was the moment we created a child.
Oh my gosh.
And that's going in the baby book. Right? That's going in the baby book.
They better name it after me.
Eve. They better. Or the kid's name is going to be Dino. So.
Oh my gosh, that's an epic story. And a beautiful story too.
Yeah.
I love that more than anything I've heard in a long time. Holy shit. I don't know how I'm going to fall asleep. I'm laughing so hard tonight. Okay, Eve, we have to have you. We have to have you back on.
We're going to need more stories.
This is amazing, and when we come to the UK and do the UK tour, you're going to have to show us a good time.
Oh, yeah. More than a good time, baby.
I love it. All right. Well, you have a kick-ass Monday. It is your Monday. Go out and live life today. And thank you again for everything. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eve.
Thank you.
And we're back. Thank you, Eve, for the incredible conversation coming on the podcast, for just everything. It was amazing.
I think one of my favorite quotes that's ever happened on this show is, "I'd like to think I co-created a child." and I remember the moment it happened.
Yes.
Perfect.
Amazing. So thank you, Eve, for everything. And just a quick reminder, you can find links to everything Eve mentioned in the podcast show notes located on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
Absolutely.
Also, a quick reminder that our next virtual meet and greet is coming up on December 29th. It is going to be holiday potpourri.
Holiday potpourri.
That's the theme that we just came up with in the intro.
We developed that on the fly.
So anyway, no pressure to dress up. Don't worry, you don't have to. It's just for fun if you want to. And these meet and greets are open to anyone. You just must be respectful and open-minded.
And awesome.
And
next week, we have an interview with Kelly and Connor. Fantastic conversation. We're super pumped about it. And we hope to see you in a week. Actually, you know what? We hope to see you like today on the summit.
Yes. Virtual summit today. Next week.
Interview next week. We'll see you then. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.